They, in turn, will be able to feed and support your enthusiasm. Now, sometimes all members of the group benefit equally from this process, but it is more likely that you, as the leader, will benefit most. The law of increasing returns will reward you for your initial originating enthusiasm in a way that far exceeds either your own contributions or the dividends paid to the other members. Increased enthusiasm in your alliance will mean increased faith as well. With that additional faith will come more insight into infinite intelligence and thus more creativity. Other ways to increase your own and your alliance's creativity are discussed later on. Criticizing without destroying enthusiasm. We're not all in a position to worry about destroying somebody's enthusiasm. I mean, like if you're criticizing your brother or your sister, but, because that's just brother and sister stuff. But mother and child, father and son, father and daughter, certainly in the realm of employment situations, certain situations where you have that employment going on. So enthusiasm in the Mastermind Alliance, one of the most important places where your enthusiasm will go to work is in your Mastermind Alliance. If we share our enthusiasm with other members, we will increase theirs. They, in turn, will be able to feed and support our enthusiasm. Sometimes all members of the group benefit equally from this process, but it is more likely that you as the leader will benefit most. Increased enthusiasm in our alliance will mean increased faith as well. With that additional faith will come more insight into infinite intelligence and thus more creativity. Other ways to increase our own and our alliance's creativity are discussed in Chapter 14. And we just discussed that, didn't we? Criticizing without destroying enthusiasm. Sorry, the dog came down, and when the dog comes down, it throws me all off because I'm afraid she's going to whine or do something that's going to interrupt this video. So I just took all that problem away because I just told you what the problem was. But anyway, criticizing without destroying enthusiasm. Sometimes it will be necessary to criticize members of our Mastermind Alliance or the people working for us who are not carrying their share of the load. We can do this without destroying their enthusiasm if we use a tactful, careful process. We must lead our black sheep to admit their mistakes on their own. Here's an example of that process taught to me by Andrew Carnegie, and I'll read it verbatim. My personal secretary was a young man who had been with me for several years. He was efficient, dependable, and had a pleasing personality. He became associated with a group of people who had the bad habit of getting their enthusiasm out of a whiskey bottle. The first thing I knew, he began to show up late on Monday mornings. Then he became irritable, and I knew the time had come for me to do a little friendly analysis on his behalf, so I prepared the way by inviting him to home for dinner. During the meal, we chatted pleasantly about everything except the subject I had in mind discussing with him. After dinner, we went to the library and lighted our cigars. The stage was then set, so I began by asking him a few questions. First, I asked him if he believed a man who was a regular drinker should be considered for a promotion, and he replied that he thought not. Then I asked him what he would do if he had in his employ a man so addicted to drink that he could not get to work on time, and he replied that he would probably fire him. By this time, he had begun to squirm in his chair, and I waited a while to give him the chance to do some serious thinking. Then I asked him if he thought it might be possible for a sensible man to change his habits in time to save himself from ruin. He waited for a couple of minutes before answering, then straightened up, looked me squarely in the eyes, and said, "You needn't go any further. I have known for a long time that this hour was coming, and I deeply appreciate your kindness in making it as easy as possible. All I can say is that I have been a fool, but I can change, and I will do so if you bear with me long enough to let me prove it." So he was disciplined, but it was with self-discipline. He took hold of his job with renewed enthusiasm, and he promoted himself from one position to another until he became manager of one of our largest steel plants. You can see the value and importance of this kind of approach. If Carnegie had angrily confronted this man, no doubt the fellow would have been so ashamed he would have denied any problem. Carnegie would have lost a valuable employee, and the man would have been driven only deeper into his destructive habits. Instead, both men came out ahead. Respect and nurture the enthusiasm others have. It can overcome powerful problems, and from those problems it will extract benefits beyond your imagination.